All right, share screen. Let's go. And let's go to today's presentation. So today's going to be a more traditional presentation. We'll continue with the 7 capabilities next week. This question popped up in the users group, so I thought I'd cover this first. Right. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hi, Nick. Yeah, good. All good.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so the question was, how do I combat low contact rates? Because what's happening, and this is, I've seen it in some verticals. Um, well, the question wasn't about how do I fix a low converting funnel, and we'll cover that some other week. This was more about people are coming in to the funnel, but they're not converting on the call. So the client is experiencing a very low contact rate. As a result, the feedback comes back to lead generators saying, "Hey, your leads are crap because they're not converting or picking up the phone." So how do you manage that process, right? So that's what today's presentation is going to be about. So the first thing I'm going to look at 6 different areas, and not all of them are going to work equally, depending on the funnel that you are running. You might find that 1 or 2 may work better. But the goal here is you want to do all 6 because that way you bring all the firepower. It's of like sometimes I'll jump on a call and I'll review the funnel and we'll come up with 25 things and like, oh, which one do we implement? And the answer is all 25. Um, well, whatever is practically possible, but you want to do as many as you can because the point is you want to do macro changes rather than micro changes and try and isolate which one work. Who cares? We're here to make money more than anything else. So let's make all the changes at once, and then you can test the 2 of them, and then if you want, you can break it up later on. Later on. So I'm a big fan of making big macro changes as soon as possible. Right. So firstly, tracking, just going to make sure this is in Jason's case because I know I'll be covering a bit of this stuff, and if you've been on the call a few times now, then it'll be a bit of a repeat. But Jason had asked just very recently about server side, so I'm guessing that there's going to be a whole lot of people who haven't done this, and so I want to make sure that I cover that fully. So client side, server side, do kind of a given, right? You want to pass your answers into Facebook. I've covered that as well in prior videos. So a bit of a summary here. Form audiences based on who's converting. You want to form audiences based on who's not converting. You want to remove the non-converters from the primary funnel. You want to create their own funnel. And if you want, you can incentivize a survey as well to learn from the people who are not converting. And what you're trying to do here is what is it about this group of people that are coming into my funnel but not really converting? Have I missed the mark in some way? And sometimes you're going to find that there are distinctive psychological profiles that are different, or what you're claiming in your copy perhaps is alienating them in some way. So you want to identify to see what does this group look like, and that's the whole process here, right? So we're going to cover a bit of this again when we're looking at the next section. So that's on the tracking side. Next comes your more of your techie stuff with respect to the funnel here. This is where you're looking at offline conversions, where you want to have correct numbers inside Ads Manager. Do you want to do this for twofold? By the way, if there's any questions, please post in the chat. I can answer that, or we can open up the call later as well. So oftentimes your conversion may occur 60 days later or 90 days later, in which case the idea of uploading those conversions into your ads manager is sort of like a moot point of that. It's a little bit too slow, and that's reality. That's what happens, right? And so the other one is obviously that the conversion is going to come from a client side. So even if it is a quick conversion, so let's say I don't know, someone's let's say you're doing phone sales for new mobile phones or something, and let's say that sale does not occur many weeks like it would for something like a solar or kitchen or renovation or something, and you literally can get an answer within 24 hours. Well, it does require clients to play ball with you at some level. Either they create some integrations that go into your ads manager with your offline conversions, and or they provide you with the lead IDs or some way for you to work out who is actually converting. Because the point is that what you're trying to separate here is leads conversion from sales conversion. And the idea here is that they're not the same. Obviously, they're not the same. where there would be parts of your funnel that have got a very high leads conversion that don't have the associated sales conversion with it. So you want to see what that group is, right? So that, and we'll see that very shortly when we go to look at the audience part of this section. So this is going to be the second thing to start thinking about. There's a couple of guys that consulted with me maybe last year, where what they did was they jacked up the price if you didn't want to give the data. so essentially what the proposition to the client was that if you're not going to give us conversion data, then we're going to charge you more. And so I think it was a bluff thing, but it worked quite well. Where they say, okay, fine, we'll give you the conversion data. So let's say if you give me conversion data, it's $100, but if you don't give me conversion data, then it's 150 or something. And so there's a way to incentivize them to build a pipeline to you with the data. Now, in most cases, if it's going to be something where the client's not organized, right, and that happens more often than not, where they're not quite have the proper systems in place, you're looking for just downloads of the lead ID that you have inside Leads Hook, because you have all the Leads Hook data, you've got all the data of all the traffic stuff that's coming in, you've got the questions and answers. All you're looking for now is of all the leads that passed you, who bought something from you. Ideally, you want the salesperson who converted, and I'll get to that very shortly. You want the lead ID and the salesperson from the client side. This requires obviously having a relationship, but the lead ID at a minimum, because then you can start seeing inside your data of, hang on a second, I got 1,000 leads here, only 100 converted, but all of those hundreds are, let's say, from California or something, or something really ridiculous that shows up in the data. All of a sudden, you're like, I can't believe I've been spending bulk of my budget in areas that just aren't converting for the client. Just knowing that does make a difference. Now, for those of you who are selling leads, this becomes like a double-edged sword, I guess. Because if you're getting paid on the volume of leads, i.e. the number of leads you're sending, then you want to be a little bit careful, because if you, obviously if you cut out all the leads that don't convert, then your client will be getting a whole bunch of leads that convert really well for them, but your volumes will drop, obviously. So if you're getting paid a flat fee on a per lead basis, then you will be disadvantaging yourself. So just be wary of, before you make any drastic actions, do your numbers and make sure that you don't cutting too much. Obviously, it'll be great if the client incentivized you to what their goal was, which is, let's just both make more money. But it often does not work like that in the real world, where you might be incentivized on number of leads you send, and they're obviously incentivized on how many convert. I see a question here. Let me see if I can cover that. Okay, so this is the to create an audience. It's to create an audience, basically. Well, first is to have better data, because you'll have a separate column sitting inside your ads manager that shows you what your true ROAS is, or whatever. Because obviously, if you're looking, if people who've completed your quiz funnels, your decision trees is the conversion point, then that actually, while that's great for you, but it may not be great for the client. So what we're looking to see is what the hell is happening at the client side, because obviously you want to continue to sell them leads. So it's in your interest to get some idea around what that is. But in your case, it could be, it's to create essentially an audience. Firstly, to find out what the hell's working, and then obviously to create audiences of that, if that's possible. In not every market you can create audiences. I think in some of the UK markets, you can't, because they block a certain amount of audiencing ability, right? So, but that's the goal here. But more so, your understanding of who the hell's converting. Because what are you going to do now? You're going to change your ad copy with it. You can change your landing page copy with it. You can change the tone of the page. Let's say you're finding there are guys, you can make the page more masculine, or if you're finding them more female, or you might realize, hang on a second, there's two distinct segments here, so I need to make two funnels. It has many other uses apart from just sending data back into Facebook or Google. Your understanding of who the hell's buying this stuff is probably the most profound difference you're looking for here. Right, so I hope that answers the question, Jonathan. All right.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Next comes the audience and segments part. Why did I not put any content here? Okay, anyway, the point here is you want to draw basically I think I forgot to write something here, but I'll talk about it. Um, is to understand what the difference in market segments are. Now, with the AI stuff that's getting better, I might show that maybe not next week, but the week after, where how you can just dump a bunch of data and ask ChatGPT or one of those platforms to give you clustering information, and you start realizing, whoa, hang on a second, there's actually 4 different groups of people in my data set that we can't see, but the machine can see. And so you're like, that's an interesting proposition. I'll test that with a campaign and see what happens. Right. So, but a lot of these things, I'm a bit weary to just don't apply this, right? Do test it, because you couldn't come up with a very efficient campaign. And if you're getting paid on a per lead basis, it's going to be a massive disadvantage to you. Unfortunately, that's just the way these things roll. So you want to be a little bit. Now, if you have got an arrangement with the client where you are getting paid back-end commissions of some sort, then obviously you are aligning your interests. So that's what you would do over here. They essentially, how I'm currently been doing it and works really well, is pivot tables. Because think about this, you've got all your UTM params, plus you can pass the hook and the ad appeal as a UTM param. You've got all the quiz data, the questions and answers they're giving you. And now you've got the client conversion data, which is the product they bought, the salesperson that may have converted them. And if they give you the dollar value of the sale, that's even better. And the lead ID. You mash it all together, you'll see some very clear distinctions of where actually conversions are happening and where conversions are not happening. Because you've got not just the ad appeal data that tells you a bit, it'll also give you the geographic data, the device data, as well as the salesperson data. And I'll talk a bit about that very shortly in one of the slides. It's one of the most profound things that I worked with an insurance company last year, and it made a phenomenal difference in their conversions, in the call center, that is. All right. So I think that's what Jason was asking. So I'll share a bit about that. Next comes the psychology and persuasion side. Now, this is the ads to lender congruency. I've spoken about this at length in prior videos. This is where, you know what? I'll actually share this with you, because I was just checking out. Someone ripped off one of my slides and presented it as their own in one of the groups. So anyway, comes with the territory, I guess. All right. It's okay. So a lot of people are running campaigns now. They're running it in this way, right? Where you have different concepts and you're running into one lander. The issue is, if the lander is not changing to match the ad, if your ad goes too off base. So let's say you're talking about solar rebates, and all of a sudden you talk about let's say zero down solar. Well, zero down solar and solar rebate are 2 different concepts. Yeah, maybe financially it means the same thing, but they're 2 different ideas. And so if your land is going to be about rebate, then your land is going to, ads about the rebates, then your land is going to be about rebate. If your ads about, about zero down solar, then your land has to be about zero down solar too. The more you match that makes a massive difference. In fact, someone in solar space challenged me on that. They said, BS, Nick, it's not going to work. I said, all right, let's test it out. So we ran a campaign. It bumped their conversions at a formula month ad spend by, I believe, about 7 or 8, 9 or 10% or something along those lines. Now, amazingly, all their ads were around about a similar topic. So there wasn't, that distinction wasn't quite there. But despite those slight differences, it made that much of a difference. I've seen funnels where the ads are like wild, like they're not even related to the lander. And so what ends up happening is they go like, oh, my ad didn't work. I'm like, no, the ad was great. The lander is great. That ad does not belong to the lander, right? So if you're using leads hook, very easily do that. You just pass the UTM params, add a decision node, change the variables in real time, and add it onto lender. I think I have that in this. So that way you are aligning the concept of the ad with the concept of the lender, right? Because then now you'll really know whether it failed or not. Let's see if I can show you what that looks like. I did cover this in a, let me see. Maybe it's in a prior one. 1 second. Just let me see. I hope I can find this. Let's see. There you go. All right. Cool. So what do we do? There you go. So it looks a bit like this. So your inside leads hook would look something like this. Time to completion, big benefits, scarcity agency, even the call to action can be personalized. All of this copy can be personalized. And you do it something like this. If you pass UTM content, or you can pass any URL param for that matter, you add this as your very first node. If, then this. So if this, then these are the things you want to change. So, the big benefit, I don't know, eliminate your solar, scarcity, time to completion, only takes 30 seconds, urgency, when does the program end, risk reversal, helping Americans save money and the environment, some numerical proof element. So many millions of Americans have already received this benefit, or whatever the thing is. And then your CTA itself. So everything is getting changed to match the ad. This is probably the number one thing I fix in most funnels. Because it's despite me talking about it since 2016, I can count on one hand how many people use it. Right? Really, it's a no-brainer. Just guys, I added this feature in 2016. Please use it. Frustrates me when I see it not being used. Because what's happening is, because the opportunity cost of this is, so let me just explain that for a second here, is you probably got really good ads that probably would have converted, but you wasted your ad spend because you're sending to the wrong place. All right, that's the point of this. The opportunity cost of this is huge. So never run any campaigns without doing this. Right, there was a question.
Nick, would you
Yeah.
so with these different CTAs and things, I mean, it would make most sense on a start node, correct? Versus like just going straight into a question.
That is correct. You can do it both ways if you want, because inside, let's say if you're running the lander inside Leadzook itself using the, then you can actually add custom fields inside your HTML, and we read that we change all the variables. So you can do the lander itself, including the nodes itself. So you can, I've seen it applied to the start node, works beautifully. You can apply it to the lander itself, especially for any copy that you want to remain congruent, such as things like, how many millions of Americans have benefited from whatever it is that you're trying to show the benefit for. And so those sort of things you can apply at the lander level and or the first node level. They both work.
Do you generally see people that use start nodes, do they
Yes.
perform better versus non-start nodes?
I have not seen a test that's been done to really separate the two difference. I've seen applications of both, and they both worked. I have not seen some test just the start node. But yeah, the benefit of the start node is that it obviously loads better on a mobile screen because you don't have all the crap on the top and the bottom anymore. So yes, there is, my guess is, I haven't tested this though, my guess is that adding it all into the start node is probably going to be, if you're really going to split this hair up, then that would be I'd be like, yeah, let's just put it in the start node and be done with it. That's where it displays the very first node and it's out of the way. And as a result, your lander can be nice and simple.
Okay. Sweet. Thank you.
No, awesome. All right. Let's go back into the slide share mode. Okay, so that's the first thing. You obviously add the and now the while the answer here was about contact rates, my point here is let's just increase the conversion rate, right? The more people you have to play with, the less pressure you're under from the contact rate side. Even if nothing else changes, let's send more people to the client, basically, or to the sales team, right? You add it to and you can add that to the CRM itself. Now, why to the CRM? Well, firstly, you can use it in your DT, or you can personalize your DT like we've just spoken about. You can personalize your form, which I did not add here. Right, your form copy, those high threshold nodes, you can add your thank you page. You can include all that in the SMS as well as the email. Because now what's happened is when someone clicks on something about, so let's say you're running a weight loss funnel and you've spoken about how get your mojo back. Right now, including that in your email copy or not sending, so sending like all the Mojo people, Mojo content, and the non-Mojo people, you want to send the other stuff, right? So it allows you to really keep the conversation on point, no matter what funnel it is. And then including that data point that goes to the call center, saying this person resonated with an ad that was about ABC. Well, when you start the conversation, wouldn't the salesperson or the setter of the call or the salesperson want to know that information? Because imagine how much needle they can move by saying, because they know exactly where the sweet spot is, rather than running through a crappy generic script. Let's start the conversation of why the hell they came here to start with, right? So that's helping the contact rate side of things. Well, once you jump on the call here, not quite the contact rate. So next, the DT questions. This is where you can start testing additions you can make into the DT itself that allows you to understand a bit more about the customer and why they may want to. Because now, when you send that information back in your email and your SMS and all that sort of stuff, guess what? You are enhancing and changing the contract rate. Because now they're like, right, there's a reason I have to jump on a call here. So firstly, future pacing of the questions. How would you spend your savings? Whatever the big outcome they're looking for, right? Whatever that is. I've got a monetary one here, but it does not have to be that. Could be about losing weight, could be about any other outcomes that they're looking for. How would you spend your savings in this case, right? That's the big outcome. So I'm future pacing it. I'm making them realize there's savings here, but now I'm not asking them what is the savings. I'm asking them, forecast to me, what would you do with the saving, right? So I'm going one step into the future here, or a few steps into the future, where I'm getting them to own that outcome and then seeing the value, the benefits of the outcome itself. Hope that makes sense, right? So then the other type of question could be, when will you spend your outcome, right? So I'm giving them not just where they're going to spend it, I'm also telling them the timing, because time is one of the great movers of conversions. So I want to throw it right in their face to saying, you know what? If I had this $1,000 saving, I would actually spend it tomorrow by taking my kids out for, I don't know, McDonald's or a steak dinner or Disneyland or whatever the heck it is. And so because they've selected this outcomes that they're looking for, now this can also be on the thank you page, right? So it doesn't have to be in the front of the conversion. You can do it at the back of the conversion as well. And you use data in two ways. Number one, you use the data in individual level, i.e., I know exactly what this person's sweet spot is. Or if they don't give you that final answer, you know that 80% of the people convert for this reason, or 80% of the people in the funnel are giving you this answer. So irrespective of whether you understand or learn about that individual person, having a broad market understanding of what the hell's going on here is actually also a very good data point that you can use back in your email copy, your SMS copy, and your phone calls. Right. So that's the reason why we want to grab that. The placement of it, I'll leave it up to you. Test both. I've seen sometimes placing it inside the DT itself before you grab the name and phone number has no impact on the drop-offs. And I've seen sometimes it drops off. Once again, it's often always when you don't phrase things properly is what results in the drop-off rather than the node itself. Right? So you want to play around with the copy a bit there in how you're positioning, how you are talking about the outcome. So you can use it in future ads. You can personalize the node because they've already told you what the savings are or how I'm going to do with it. I can actually say that on the form node, right? The high threshold node, which is a form node. I can actually put in the node, as someone with 5 kids who's looking to spend $10,000, give me your name and email. Works far better than giving your name and email. And so there's a whole lot of data you're already grabbing that you're probably not even using on your form nodes. So you got to start displaying this stuff on your form nodes. I will add one more thing here. You could make an API call to ChatGPT and have a personalized form node. I shared that technique, I think last week or the week before last, where you basically just take all the data you grabbed about the person, you pass it to ChatGPT, it comes back with the copy, and which you save into a custom field, and you just display under the custom field. It looks very much like the personalization thing that I just showed you with your call to action and your time to completion, all that sort of stuff in the first node or the landing page personalization. You can use it for that purpose as well. Because what happens now is, think about it, it's a very high threshold node. It's you're asking for name, email, phone number, and guess what? You dangle this massive emotional and or monetary outcome that they're dying to get, like essentially, right? So I'll talk a bit about that very shortly. But that's another way to do it. Obviously, on your thank you page, you can as well as including your email, SMS, and then your phone calls, the results or the learnings that you've gained here. Right. C, the offer the options. I've only seen one person do that, and it absolutely crushed it. But they were organized enough to do that, where they offered the option of calling in versus calling out. So the question, I believe is something on the lines of, would you like to get this, whatever, big benefit right now? And then they were asked, like, do you want to call us or would you like to get a call in? I don't remember what the order was, but it was something along those lines. So what you want to do is you want to test an inbound button if your client obviously can take calls now. So let's say if it's a call center, they can take inbound, then obviously offer them the button. All it would be making an API call into Ringba or whatever the platform system is, and it brings back the phone number. They dial a phone number. So this can also work with your pay-per-call type campaigns. I'm sharing a bit of that idea here as well. If you're doing pay-per-call campaigns, and this is how that would work. You also want to include a video of who will contact them. This can apply to I guess, both sides. Calling in probably doesn't because you don't know who's going to pick up the call. But if it's going to be out call, sorry, that's sitting in the wrong section, should have been down here. So if it's an out call, then you want to include that video on the thank you page or something, which is, hey, it's Nick here from, Leeds Hook. Thank you for signing up. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you in the next 24 to 48 hours on your onboarding call with me. By the way, my onboarding calls are not the same as every other boring SaaS company you've ever dealt with. One call with me and, whatever, I'll give you this big benefit, so on and so forth. All right. So you get the idea of what I'm talking about here. What it does, it allows you to establish an expectation of what you're going to get, the outcome you're potentially going to get. You can even throw in some before and after stories. There was a weight loss one that we did. We basically showed photographs of before and after. I believe it was a solar one, or it was something that reduced the power bill or reduced some bill. And we basically flashing like bills, we're like, this is before and this is after, this is before, this is after. I've got hundreds of clients that they've done that and that kind of thing. That really worked well because what it opened this massive expectation or this massive open loop or what they're about to get here. Now, all of a sudden, they're motivated to jump on the call now. And that impacts, guess what? The contact rate, because they're well aware of what this is going to be about. You're flashing in their face, all right? Obviously, you can offer now if the client can deliver the call now option. Right, so open loops. You want to add as many of these as you can. So how is a call an irresistible offer? I've covered this in prior videos, where I said a very simple formula for an irresistible offer is what is the perceived benefit over the perceived cost. I'm not talking about real benefit here. I'm talking about perceived benefit. So perceived benefit is thousands of dollars saved. You're a better version of yourself. You're a better dad, better mom, better whatever, protecting your family for life insurance. Perceived cost, only give me 30 seconds on the call. It's a 1-minute call. And within 1 minute, you can potentially get all these extra things. So what you're doing is you layer up the monetary benefits, the emotional benefits, and all that sort of stuff over the perceived cost, which is I only need 30 seconds on a call with you, or you're only going to spend 30 seconds on this form, right? So what happens now is that's what creates irresistible offer. To me, an irresistible offer is the ratio of the perceived benefit over the perceived cost. And our job is to try and layer up the perceived benefit or try and expand it and try and shrink the perceived cost. All right. And that's essentially what you're doing. So whenever you're looking to see what is the perceive is my funnel an irresistible offer, is my landing page an irresistible offer, is my form page an irresistible offer. If you can see here, I'm working on a fractal here where you can use the same concept across the entire decision tree, funnel, whatever you want to call it, including the phone call. Am I layering enough perceived benefit that the person is going to get, and why they would be desperate to jump on a call with me, right? So that's what you're looking at here. What happens on the call? How long? Who will call? Who are they speaking to? Right? Why is this call so important? If you can tie it to the zeitgeist, do it. It works like crazy. So the zeitgeist is basically the mood of the times, right? I.e., at the moment, what is it? In every country in the world, I think, is either elections or cost of living. If in Europe, it's the far right or whatever they're going on about there. The US is the elections are coming up. And perhaps cost of living in Australia, New Zealand, it's cost of living pressures, people falling behind the mortgages and so on and so forth, right? So can you tie this in some way around the mood of the times, right? And that is why it's so important, because effectively you're becoming a better version of yourself in dealing with the current crisis that's going on, right? So we're as you can see here, I'm layering a lot of emotional type stuff here, and that's what is truly missing in a lot of the large scale funnels or the high volume funnels that I'm seeing, things like your solar and debt refi, this kind of stuff. I think the info marketer types really do this really well, but I'm seeing it not even being touched on in the kind of funnels that most of the leads users are running, which is the high volume stuff. Right. What do you get, or where do you potentially get? So a hint, how do you become a better version of yourself? A better father. This one here, I just want to, maybe I covered elsewhere, but I'll do it here fully. So one of the things I realized with the research that I've done in the solar space is that Republicans do it for empowerment. So I'm in control of the power in my family, while the Democrat side are more along the benevolent type benefits, saving the world, environment, all that stuff. So in one of the funnels, we looked at the zip codes and zip codes, and if they were Republican zip codes or Democrat zip codes. And we were looking at the IP address, which showed the zip code, which is a custom field inside leads hook. We give you automatically. We were changing the headlines on the fly. So we were using this technique. I'll show you. We were using this technique. We were using this technique, but we were looking at zip codes here. And it was an API call to Google Sheet. The Google Sheet would come back to see if it was a Republican or Democrat, and then we would dynamically change that in real time. That was crazy. Now, the benefit of that is good luck funnel hacking you, because you wouldn't even know this was happening, right? That's the whole point. Now, there's a lot of this data arbitrage available to everybody out there, and you're just not thinking long enough or hard enough around what's actually going on here, right? So this is where the research side really adds in. I'll cover research in the next 2 or 3 weeks, where how do you really research the emotional benefits that are in a marketplace, and how do you see the differences in the emotional benefits. All right. Okay, so hint, you can add questions in your DT to learn the context. Right now, you can also create the gap. You're going to create an emotional gap in the identity as well, right? Once again, like I said, you need a bit of research for this. I'll cover that in a couple of weeks' time. And genuine scarcity and urgency, if that is available, like the window of opportunity is shutting down, like the government rebates are shutting down. What was Build Back Better, Biden's, whatever that thing that he did, it ran for a period. And so if you can tie into any of those sort of things, obviously they work. So feel free to do that. Or if the tax year is coming to an end, things of that sort. I believe John is in John, yeah, one of your funnels is related to tax type stuff. So perhaps the tax year would be one of the things to add into it. Now comes the client side actions. This is something outside of your control, but the reason I want to add it in here is because there could be potentially value add that either you sell to the client or just give it to them. As a result, your leads look better, or you buy your client out and implement this and keep all the money. All right. So anyway, I'll leave it to you whether you want to embed anything out of this, but that would be the things that you can do on the client side. Right. So first thing, most of the messages that I've seen coming from the client side, because they always say, yes, we send SMSs, yes, we send emails. But if you read the email and the SMS, they're so boring and dry, and no one's going to open them. Right. So you want to start injecting a bit of personality in it. I want to talk a bit about the personality side. So there was one weight loss funnel that we worked on. It was for gastric band surgery, where we created a personality that was the sort of the person's, they were the advocate of the person who was overweight. And we created a character. It was Jenny or whatever the name was. And Jenny would always, kind of remind you, hey, check out this before and after story. Or the automation was done was so slick that if you ever replied to it, they even added in on the phone message, like sent from iPhone. It looked like it was like a personal message, and started doing all that sort of stuff. And sometimes they would reply, and what we'd do is we would if the reply came in after let's say 5 p.m. or whatever the time the business is supposed to be offline, we'd say, hey, just shopping with the kids, or hey, it's just a late night watching, some I don't know, Kardashians or whatever. Thanks for the message. Get back to you tomorrow. Ta, or and sign off with a K or J or something if the name was that. We went down to that level, and then what started happening was that the person started really forming a relationship with the business and the personality. So you can do that. Now, this obviously comes in handy if the sales cycles are long. So let's say, where in this case it was a gastric band, no one looks at a Facebook ad and decides to jump into the doctor's surgery to get an operation done tomorrow. There's obviously a time lag. The time has to do its course, or has to play a part in that funnel. So what you could do is that's where that's going to come in handy. But having said that, you don't need to make your email or messages boring. Right. So and then you can start sharing outcomes. You can check out this power bill. You used to be $1,000, now it's $10. So you start showing the outcomes. And I'm talking about the step between you've generated the lead and the phone call or whatever the next step is from the sales team hasn't happened on the client side, is to how do you manipulate or how do you encourage contact rate, I should say, rather than manipulate, right? So how many attempts? So life happens. So this is what happened with there was a life insurance funnel of a US company out of the US I was working with. Firstly, the emails were pretty dry, so we changed those. And after 3 weeks, they said, we were talking. They said, "Oh, what are you going to do here?" I said, "Why don't you just repeat the same sequence?" They're like, "But the same email." I said, "Yeah, but don't worry. The client doesn't know this. Just send it, resend." So we sent it for 2, 3 weeks. We had a 1 or 2 week break, and then we just resent the whole damn thing again. It actually got about 50% more conversions out of the whatever we got the previous time. So let's say previous time the conversion was 3% or 2% or 4%, whatever it was. We got double that in the next, and we basically just repeated it for the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's a very lazy way of doing it. A better approach would be to rewrite the whole thing for 6 months or something. Because what happens is, think about this, right? So let's say you want to get solar panels or you want to do life insurance. And you're on your way home, you fill the form out. You get a couple of calls, but guess what? You're on holidays now because school's out, and so you got to take the kids out for holidays, or a new tax bill has popped up, or something. Life happens, but it's not like you're not interested. You're just not quite in market anymore. You're sort of in market, but not so much in market because other priorities are showing up. A friend's wedding popped up, or whatever. Just repeating that process a couple of weeks from now will bring them back in, and it's like a no-brainer. So just do that. Your pre-call messaging. Obviously super important. Once again, setting up the expectations, the perceived benefit you're going to get, and what can happen. Right? And if they're booking a call in with you, let's assume that one of those funnels where people are booking the calls in, then you want to show the cost of inaction, the value of the action, the ease of the action, and before after stories in the time span between when you've generated the lead to when the call may be happening. Or you could just use this in an email sequence. All right. Data analysis. Okay, so this is the kind of like the last part that I wanted to contribute about this whole thing is the lead and all the UTM params and all the other data about them, the product or what they bought, the salesperson and the dollar value of what they bought. This one's super important. So there was one funnel that I worked on where they consulted with me like about 4 times already. So there was like not a lot of low-hanging fruit lying around for me to change or to even think about changing. And I was like, I don't know, is this really going to be worth, or are we like, splitting hairs here? And the conversion rates were really good. And so, but we were like, we're losing a lot of people. I said, okay, so of every 1,000 or 100 people you send to the call center, how many you convert? And like, oh, you know what, some small number. I said, you know what, let's look at that. Well, you're not paying me to look at that. I want to look at that. So send me some data. So they sent me this massive file. It had like 100,000 records on it. And they had a salesperson record there. And what I did was I contacted them and I said, can you give me the location of the salespeople? And so they had like a person from the South and, Northeast and all that stuff. So we put that in there, a simple VLOOKUP table, and we did a pivot table analysis. And we realized that that was a significant factor in that funnel. The point is, I don't know whether there's going to be a factor in every funnel, but it was in that one. And what we uncovered was that people from the South were converting from the salesperson from the South. Perhaps the accent thing or whatever it is. And we found this significant variables around the salesperson. So then what we did was we put a Google sheet. We had all the entire sales team or the people. We worked out where they were coming from, as in where the lead was coming from. We'd make an API call to the Google sheet. We'd update who should take this call. And that call would be assigned to the specific team or the call or the person. That moved the needle by a lot in the actual call process. Right. So the point here is that there's a whole lot of data that you're sitting on that unless you're analyzing it, you probably are losing a lot of money. Because what normally happens is you look at this, right? You're like, here's my cost, here's my revenue. Delta is quite big. The difference between the two is reasonably big. Cool, we're winning. But if you just go inside the data itself, you might realize there's a whole lot of fat on the media buy side that you could remove. And there's probably a whole lot of easy wins on the sales side that you could gain. And you extract both of those and you got yourself, a massive win between the two. All right. I think that kind of covers the formal part of today. Hopefully that was valuable. Give me a bit of thumbs up, thumbs down, or sideways. Anyway, I hope that helped. Want to cover in some detail. So you can see, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to move the needle, and I encourage you to exploit that opportunity. Cool, awesome, John. uh, this call was paused from minute zero, Joss. All right, cool. Right. So I did want to share this once again a feature highlight because this week we do have something to show you, and I'll do it very quickly. Firstly, we added in redid all of the DTs again. So business insurance, we humanized the funnel a little bit. Oh, by the way, there's the reason why I'm putting in a lot of images here. Why does that guy look like he has got 4 eyebrows? I better get that checked out. um, anyway,
AI generation, okay?
we realized that that adding in the human photos, maybe he got vaccinated 3 times. Anyway, we realized by adding in humanization of the photograph, it actually moved in a few of the tests that I've done recently. So if you've got a funnel that is not showing, that is not humanizing the experience in some way, then you can change it. Now, having said that, these images, you can add them in as variables because LeadSoak has image custom fields. So hint, hint, you can actually dynamically change images on the fly if you wanted to, based on where they were coming from. All right. So let's say you're running a gender campaign, you could show females if it was a female gender funnel versus a male one, or perhaps Hispanic or whatever. Right. So I'll leave it to your imagination as to how you can use that. And that's something that in our new landing page builder is going to be built in. So you'll be able to dynamically rotate images based on where the traffic source was coming from. All right. So that's the cool new thing. All right. That's anyway, the funnels here. And the other thing we added in was we're adding in a better place is the themes here. They were all reworked and they all look a little bit nicer now. And we removed all the custom scripting we had inside it, which made it really difficult to make changes. So they're all have been redone and they're all different enough. So very soon there'll be if you do the preview right here, if you click the preview button, it'll be available in the drop down here. So there'll be a drop down that allows you to change it very easily and see what it looks like rather than going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So anyway, just a few little things, tidbits that are coming down the pipeline. Otherwise, I open it up to any Q&A. We can talk about the questions we had today or anything else that's troubling you.
Nick, I have a question. So I sent over an email before this call to you, but just want to
Okay, yeah. So I probably missed it. I'll have a look at it as soon as I jump off the call.
Well, it might be for the broader group.
Sure.
Just with the split. One thing we're just noticing is that it's like a 50-50 split, and we're testing embed versus not embed.
Yep.
And it looks like the view, like the impressions on the embed are substantially like lower, even though with the 50-50 split. So I'm wondering, is it possible when it's an iframe on a page, it doesn't like always
all right.
render an impression?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll pull the data out of our database and have a look at the actual raw data. One of the things that we found, and this is something that Josh brought up, and we are adding this in, is that their bots favor a specific variant, and like a Google bot or whatever. And in one of the funnels we've seen, it's almost like Google just goes crazy. And I'm not sure whether it's Google traffic or not.
It's all Facebook traffic.
Okay. So I'll have a look and see if that is bot related or not at all. It favors like this one link, and obviously we track where that's going from, and so it lopsides. It has a lopsidedness to it. So I'll have thanks for sending the issue through. What I'll do is I'm going to remove download all the data into like a Google Sheet or something, and do a quick analysis to see what is the referrer and the UTM params and all that other stuff, and that'll give me a better idea if the raw data was split evenly or if there was something else that happened. Because what happens is obviously, even if it's a bot, we still will cookie them and we'll know where they came from. So if they keep revisiting over and over and over again, they'll go to the same place because obviously we know where they came from. So I just want to make sure it's not that issue. I want to rule that out first, and I'll get back to you with what we find.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Cool. Any other questions? I think, Eric, you had unmuted.
Well, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
What was the percentage you were seeing with the congruency versus non?
Oh, that, yeah. So in that one funnel, all right, I'll explain the concept here. Let me just share my screen so I can explain this properly. All right. So in that high volume test that we've done, it was the 4 mil a month ad spend or so. It had I believe it was like a 6 or 8% difference at a statistically significant level, which at that spend level is significant. Now, having said that, the ads that they were running, while they were different, they were still very much in topic. They were around the same concept. So despite them being very close to each other in terms of what the ads were saying, it still resulted in that sort of a improvement. Usually, what you find in most testing that people do with ads, they'll come up with all kinds of a large variation of ad concepts. If you do that in the small tests that I've seen 15 to 20, 30% difference at times. But I don't want to quote that because those were fairly limited tests. And then they're like, screw this is how we're going to run it. They never split tested it again because they're like, listen, we're wasting money. Why would I not use this? And so they've never gone back to wanting to test it because obviously, it worked so well right out of the gate. That's how they run. And so if your ads are very different in concept and you're sending it to a page that's quite generic, then you are losing money straight away. Yeah. So because by doing something like this, you'll obviously have a much greater degree of alignment between the ad and the lander or the first node. And so as a result, you will see a much bigger benefit. But not just that, the bigger cost here, Eric, is that the money you're spending is not wasted anymore. So what if that ad was really, really good? And you got a 4% click-through or whatever, something crazy. And you went to the lender, you're like, oh man, no one converted. And you're like, I got a really good ad, but then it didn't convert. Well, what if that ad actually went to a lender that was much more in sync with the ad itself? That's when you can really tell. That's why what I'm saying here is that this setup tests ads performance, but it does not test conversions. It does not test conversion rate because you've got, I mean, it does test conversion rate, but it's a very silly test because you've got conceptually totally different ideas, but they're going to the same lander. Well, if it doesn't convert, is it the ad's fault or the lander's fault? Well, neither. You're sending the wrong ad to the wrong lander. So we want to get to this side here first to get a better idea of does this ad work or not, right? And so therefore, any ad spend you have here is not wasted. And that to me is, I think, the bigger cost. If you look at the thousands of campaigns that are running right now, millions of campaigns, right? Hardly anyone does this. Hardly anyone does this. Everyone is still doing this. And so they churn through like hundreds of ads every week trying to find a winner. When I think you would actually run less ads if you just did this. Does that answer the question?
Big time. And so when it goes to what you're suggesting, like what kind of variations are you like thinking or just?
Yeah. So the big concept of the ad itself. So let's say, for example, let's take solar because it's top of mind here. Let's say if you're running I think I already shared that as an example. Here you go. There you go. The ad. Okay. So look, I'm going to share my screen so you can really see this. All right. Okay. Cool. So let's take a look at the ad here. This ad is talking about no-cost solar. All right. It's got no-cost solar program, which is here eligible. But I go to a lander that says claim this government rebate, right? There was not a lot of conversation around here what the government rebate is. Secondly, they're trying to identify AGL and origin customers, right? It's already okay. So he goes special savings for AGL and origin customers. They could have easily passed that as a UTM param and actually displayed that on this page right here, but they didn't. Next, there's a incentivized solar program, but now there's a rebate here. Well, a rebate is not the same thing as no cost, at least not to the average consumer out there. Perhaps at the contract level, it means the same thing, but it's not the same concept. So you see how there's a subtle difference in the concept, but this ad is going to this lander. And so, let's assume this ad is getting a 4% click through, and they go on the lander and nothing happens on the lander. They're like, oh man, the ad didn't work. It's crap. No, if you're getting a high click through rate, perhaps there's a lot of interest, but you just sent it to the wrong damn place. Make sense?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, cool. Right. This is an easy win, really. Like it's like a no-brainer. It's almost like it's a crime not to embrace this and use it. Because yeah, let's put it this way, of the, I don't know, 30, 40 tests I've been done around this, it's never not one. I mean, it's like how can it lose? I mean, maybe I know you got to pick one counter example next week and say, Nick, that you're talking shit. It failed. But then if I look at it, I will tell you why it failed. All right. So test it out, and I'm willing to put myself on the line here.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem. All right. Any
Nick?
other? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think I know the answer, but for the benefit of the group, I'll ask again. So the UTM param for location from Facebook and from Google Ads, is that automatically registered and pushed through anyway? So we're just capturing it. It's not like they're definitely sending that information through. And is there a
Yes.
custom field?
No, there's not. Yeah, so I'll just share that. So if you go into admin custom fields, and if you go under tracking here, so this is all the one of the V2 benefits that we added in. So all of these fields are automatically captured. So since you asked for the UTMs, they are right over here. So what LeadZook is looking for is this part here: UTM underscore campaign, UTM underscore content, ID, medium, source, and term. If you're passing those variables, you do not need to create those fields inside LeadZook. LeadZook will automatically grab them in these fields for you. Now, if you are sending WB raid, we'll grab that as well. And then of the TikTok one or the cookie information, so on and so forth. None of these fields, none of this FBP, FBC, GA, GAC, GCL, TTP, like all the stuff that or the ad network send, you do not need to create any fields for that, nor add any scripts at the node level or whatever. LeadZook automatically grabs that. You can gracefully remove all that crap, and as a result, get some page speed benefit from this. We realized that everybody tracks this stuff, and it was kind of like it was sort of stupid to tell people, go create these fields. Like, no, since everybody needs them, we'll just create them for you, and we'll track it for you. Does that answer the question, Paul?
It does, but more specifically the geo of like what
yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if
city. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, for example, if you are running, now we do grab the geo, these are all the geo fields that we grab for you, including some threat stuff here, including time zones and so on and so forth, including the zip. So we do grab this information for you. That doesn't mean that you don't ask them information about this if it's super important. So let's say, for example, if you are selling leads based on zip level, well, then I would not rely on this zip here. But you could use this as a custom field on your start node, or you're saying people in and around 90210, right? And that could potentially work. But it won't be something that you rely upon to distribute your leads. Say, for example, if you've got a client and said, listen, I only want 90210. Well, then I would not rely on this as a way to distribute that, right? So that's what this is. Now, that's not stopping you from adding in any new custom fields and adding in any geo data that you may have around your traffic source. So let's say if you are running an ad that says, let's say, I don't know, for anybody who's looking for free solar that lives in and around 90210, and you may want to pass that as a special UTM param, call it add underscore zip, for example, and we will grab that gracefully, and you could either use that now as inside your inside your DT, or you could use this one inside your DT. And when you finally ask the question, what is your actual zip, you could actually use that inside the DT itself. So now you've got 3 separate zip codes. You can use them however you want. You can pass all of them into the client side if you wanted to, and so on and so forth, and perhaps can yield some interesting data analysis at a later point. So hope that makes sense. Does that answer the question?
We're getting there. It's just, it's more for, yeah, sorry, Nick. It's more for, I think it's a bit more basic. It's just, I'm targeting London for argument's sake, and I want to put on my landing page London residents, right? So is Facebook and Google Ads automatically sending London as a city and I can just pick it up, or
no?
But it's not.
No,
okay.
No, it doesn't. Unless you're targeting down to that level, then you can add that as a UTM param. So let's say, for example, if you take UK and let's say you create 10,000 ad sets for argument's sake, each one for every county or city or whatever suburb. Okay, well, those ones you can, because now you'll have an ad. Not that the ad would work, but let's say if that was the case of what you did, and well, theoretically, obviously, and it was London, then you can send London or the zip code or area code or whatever it is as a param, but Facebook will not send you somebody else's zip code.
No, I understand that. So if it's an ad like Cambridge users, then I can send Cambridge to the lander, but it's not. They're not giving me that naturally.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
That answers.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all good.
I'm getting the city from the Google Maps API, but it's not mapping correctly inside of Leads Hook. Is Google just not good for Leads Hook?
Because Google's not supplying it. Yes. So
I'm getting
Google
it.
API. So if you're using the so if you're using the Google API, then the Google API for the UK is quite faulty, and actually probably shouldn't be used. And what happens is that not every address that Google displays has got all of the information with it. So, for example, there's even in the US, there are addresses that Google API will give you that if you select it just based on the street by typing it in with the autofill, the autocomplete thing, some of them have got zip codes missing. And that's just the nature of how the data set is kept. So yeah, unfortunately, if you are finding that to be happening more and more, then I would just add a decision node that says if zip is blank, then hey, what's your area code? So what it will do is that 90% or 95% will probably fly through because everything was correct, but the other 5% gets diverted into another node where you're specifically asking for information because you've already filtered for the data that does not exist.
We're getting ones where it has the full address, that has the city, but it's not coming through.
Okay, all right, okay, cool. Just send it. If you've sent it through, then just PM me the ticket ID, and what I'll do is I'll follow it up with the team to see what's actually going on here.
Do you know if postcode is being fixed yet, or is that still having issues?
Postcodes with you mean postcode?
Yeah, postcode.
Yeah, no, we've put an inquiry to them to see what the hell's going on, and I'm hoping to have that resolved. Hopefully today. I'll chat to the team after the call.
No worries. Thanks.
No problem. Right. Any other questions? Cool. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions. Yeah. Go on, Eric.
Anybody using Ad Espresso or anybody know about that?
Yeah, which is the Facebook ads thing.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who uses it who's doing any Facebook stuff at scale, but I'll let the group answer the question. Anyone here using Ad Espresso? Josh, do you guys use that?
No, we don't use it. I knew the guy that used to make it, but he's exited that.
Right. Jack, I'm guessing you don't use it either. Yeah, nah.
Okay, good to know. Okay, appreciate it.
It may be for amateurs only. Sorry, nothing is Ad Espresso.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, actually, Eric, I found that at least the guys who are moving volume, they rarely use too many external tools. And my guess is that you want to play in the platform directly, because that gives you the true power of the platform itself rather than using abstractions, which you normally will take stuff away to make things easier, which may not be the goal at scale.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
issue with ad espresso on those platforms is Facebook constantly comes out with new platform features, and
It breaks.
those platforms can't keep up with the API and the updates that they need to render right to match Facebook.
Yeah. Actually,
Appreciate
Facebook
it.
API changes a lot. Yeah, it changes a lot. So yeah.
Be careful with Facebook. They add in like a new feature, like honestly, like every few days now we're evolving AI stuff, and they can generate a lot of AI things for your ads, and a lot of times they're garbage. So it's something to look out for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Cool.
Zach. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, guys. If there is no more questions, we'll call it a night. Same time, same place next week. This will be on YouTube within the next day or two. Otherwise, really nice to have all of you on the call. I look forward to doing this again next week. We'll talk about teams and stuff. Unless another question pops up that's more lead Jenny related, then I'll do that.
One
first.
quick one.
Yeah.
Where in the leader API do we see the whether it's success on the 2FA, if they went through the 2FA and passed through?
Sorry, where? What's the question again?
On the lead info, is there a field that shows you that they were able to go through successfully on the two-factor authentication, the SMS?
Apart from seeing it against the lead record, no. I also noticed that this week that we don't have anything mapped. So I've added that in as a feature to map the fields for you actually.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. No, I noticed that because this week, I saw a funnel. I was like, oh man, it'd be great to isolate these people. And I actually, we probably missed that. So anyway, we'll get that added in hopefully this week.
Okay, great. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Paul, you had a question?
No question. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a lovely week and same time, same place next week. Bye for now.